I never counted my son out, but I did underestimate him, not out of ignorance, but out of pain. Autism is one of those things you can't touch, can't fight, can't reason with, and that helplessness messes with your mind. I believed anything complex would be too much for him. So when I started to teach him basketball, I was only showing him how to dribble. I wasn't showing him how to shoot for multiple reasons. One of them being that I didn't think he understood the mechanics of a jump shot form. So I didn't try to teach him how to shoot. Then one day the ball got away from him. He ran, he grabbed it, he walked towards the hoop, and out of nowhere he rose up with the form of a real shooter. I never taught him that. He held the ball correctly, one hand as the guide and the other as the lever, like a 3-point marksman. He didn't have the strength to launch it or the motor skills because they are affected by autism, but the form was perfect. That moment hit me like lightning. He learned it from watching basketball on TV since he was a baby and watching me play in the park, watching drills, watching shots go up. That's when I realized I wasn't protecting him by assuming his limits. I was limiting him. That moment changed how I see my son forever. All right. It's your boy Spank Dog, aka Puffinstein at YouTube. Like, comment, share, subscribe. You already know. Let's get into it. All right. So, right there, I'm talking about when I took my son. The show is about multiple things. We're going to talk about autism right now because something happened recently and I decided to make it one of the topics. I don't like to bombard people with the fact that my son has, severe autism. There are people out there that, some people are just nasty and they always jump on the negative and they never jump on the positive. You get what I'm saying? So they would, how you call it, think that I'm like always talking about it. And when in all actuality, as much as it affects my life, I actually talk about it seldomly. So, but the diagnosis itself matters. My son was diagnosed with severe autism. Now I don't act like I got it worse than any other parent, whether they have been, because they literally write on these diagnosis forms that my son's diagnosed with severe autism. There are multiple places on the spectrum. A spectrum means multiple, slots. To a degree, it means that. And they'll try to specify what place on the spectrum the kid with autism is. So they'll try to say moderate, medium, severe, mild, whatever. There's also pervasive developmental disorder, which is a form of autism. There's also Asperger's, where it's a form of autism, and there's many degrees and probably other types of autism that I didn't even mention. So when they told me that kind of revelation is like it destroys you in the moment. So I don't want to like drag this out. So when I taught him how to play basketball, I would grab his hand and I would dribble, and this I was slowly starting to understand because it would be where he didn't know how to do anything for a long time. He wouldn't even eat. My son, from all the way up to 5 years old, my son had stretches where he wouldn't touch food. You got to understand that, like, he didn't eat at the beginning, then he finally started eating solids, and then he quit again. And for like 2 years, he wouldn't touch solid food, and then, it's just, it's unpredictable. So But I had started to realize that putting any sort of limitations on him was stupid. Not stupid. That's a bad word for it. It was not right. It was like I said, it comes at you fast, so you're put on the spot to deal with it, and you got no handbook. So I was starting to realize one of the mistakes I was making was thinking he couldn't do something. Now, granted, there are things he can't do, but you can't pinpoint it. So for you to try to say, oh, that's going to be something he can't do, that's not good, because he'll surprise you and he'll do it. See, and I had thought that the mechanics of raising up and shooting, I thought it was too difficult for him to grasp. Now, mind you, I was putting him to watch basketball when he was 1 year old because he was diagnosed. We really understood what was going on early, but we like really understood that like the first offer of early intervention was when he was like 8 months old. But me and her were like, we really don't know yet. We're like, not yet, and we should have took it, But like I said, that's the one time I would say you're not in denial. You know, the denial comes probably on the second go, and I'm not saying it because we did it on the second go. So since we didn't do it on the first go, we don't. I'm trying to like make it where we weren't in denial. We weren't. I told her, look, whatever it is, we deal with it, but don't be in denial. So when they came the second time, we're like, something's going on. So from that day on, I thought maybe, he couldn't do certain things, but slowly he would start switching on the light. Now, mind you, he had never switched the light on before, and he hits the light switch. And I'm like, I didn't think that was coming. And he starts like shocking me, little things. Now, when he was young, we put him to watch Baby Could Read. We watch him. For anybody that's watching anything, I'm going to address anybody leaving comments in a second. But, at the beginning, you think that you can understand what he can and can't do, and that's not the case. So when he was young, he would watch his favorite things. We were able to understand that he loved Special Agent Oso. He loved Baby Could Read. He loved Chuggington, and certain things. But we would put sports and Your Baby Can Read on for him in the hopes that he would be able to understand how to read and be athletic one day. So now he's like 8 years old, 9 years old, 10 years old, and I'm bringing him to the park and I'm making him pat the ball to dribble. Because I'm like, let's start with this because I don't know if he can grasp the concept of shooting. So we work on that for weeks, dribbling. Out of nowhere, the ball trickles away one day, and he grabs the ball, walks up to the rim, to the hoop, and raises up with perfect form, mind you. This is why I'm telling you it's more than just shocking, because even if he would have raised up to shoot, even if his hands would have been in the wrong place, it would have shocked me. But his hand was right there, and the other hand was on the side, like Larry Bird. And he raised up like this. And then that's when it stopped because the autism messes with his motor skills. And I was right about him not having the strength needed to launch the ball, but that could be addressed. And in all actuality, while I thought he would never be able to shoot a ball in a hoop with the right amount of work, he will be able to shoot the ball through a hoop, and I promised myself I wouldn't get emotional. I've never cried on a live, and there's been one or two times where I got a little choked up, but I was able to fight back the tears or whatever. And this is gonna be one of those times because I want y'all people to lock in on what I'm saying. And what I'm saying is something I thought he couldn't do with enough repetition and enough work, he would be able to do it. And I was proved 100% wrong. I'm not going to keep going with this because this is where it should stop. The point has been made. Don't have a child like mine, or even has it not as severe as my child, and make the assumption that he'll never be able to do something. You're wrong. And that's pretty much the point of what we just spoke about, you know. And we're gonna go on to the next thing. I'm gonna check to see if anybody dropped a comment. My Brody. Yo, what's good, G'd up? My brother G'd up Quinn stopped in. We're gonna highlight that for sure. You know, that's right. ICE is not welcome here. ICE is not welcome here. Get out of here. Yo, so anyway, we're gonna keep pushing. Much love. That's my real brother. You know, certain people ain't gonna know, but that was literally my blood brother that I was just talking to. Big shout out to G'd up Quinn. Go check out my bro's channel. You know, you spell it GDUP space KWIN. He's got a really good talk show. He's a very smart brother. He's taught me some of the things that I've corrected in my life. You know what I'm saying? So we're gonna get back to what we was talking about. All right, so give me 1 second. Let me get down to the part I was at. Because I was gonna talk about that. Actually, that was the first talking point. You know. All right, so we're gonna also talk about the Super Bowl. You know what I'm saying? I don't know if you guys seen the Super Bowl yesterday, but you know, it wasn't super exciting. A lot of people called it the worst Super Bowl in history. That's not true. Come on. You know, first of all, for people who like defense, the Seahawks versus the Patriots was actually a good Super Bowl. The Seahawks were all over the Patriots. You know what I'm saying? And the crazy thing is that Drake Maye still did decent. He had 2 touchdowns. Did he throw an interception? I think he did. And but he had 300 yards with 2 touchdowns. Sam Darnold, I think, threw 1 touchdown and only had 200 yards, and he still won by a large margin too. But the surrounding team around Sam Darnold, at least for that day, was better than the surrounding team around the Patriots. Because if you look at the QB statistics, Drake Maye had a better game than Sam Darnold. It's a fact. You know what I'm saying? And during the regular season, Drake Maye did better than Sam Darnold. You know, so you know, they talk about game changers in football. Like I've seen my man Cam Newton talk about game changers and game managers. Well, yesterday, you know, Drake Maye, you know, game changer. I believe he could have been, but you know, the opportunities, you know, at one point the coaches called a running play. First of all, big shout out to Kenneth Walker III. He stole the show. You know what I'm saying? Like, and like you got to understand, man, people aren't gonna have good games all the time. Them, in order for the Seahawks and the Patriots to get to where they at, they got to win 3 games in a row, and they got to have a great regular season record, you know, or at least like more than decent. So these are people that are probably due for a bad day, but you got to fight that off. There is no due for a bad day when you're in the Super Bowl, you know. And what happens is that the quarterback is such a big position. You forget that the wide receiver could change the game. The kickoff returner could change the game. A sack, a fumble, the running back. And Kenneth Walker III it was his day, you know. I believe he got Super Bowl MVP. It was deserved. And he had like 170 yards rushing in the Super Bowl. It's not easy to eclipse 100 yards. He had 170. You know, he had like 3 big runs. I don't think he got a touchdown. Let's see. Did Kenneth Walker III get a touchdown in the Super Bowl yesterday? See, it's crazy. It would have been nice if he got a touchdown, but 170 yards says it all. He had three big runs, you know. Um, Big shout out to Drake May and Sam Darnold. They both killed it. They had to be a winner. These are two guys that led teams to 3 victories in a row and 3 victories in a row. Now there has to be a loser. My hat's off to the Patriots and the Seahawks, both teams. My hat's off to both quarterbacks, But if you really want to talk about the MVP, big shout out to Kenneth Walker, the third. He was the game changer, And while Cam Newton talks about game changing quarterbacks and game managers, now we'll mention that a running back can be the guy that comes out of nowhere. And while everybody's looking towards the quarterbacks to be the game changer, Kenneth Walker proved yesterday that a running back can be a game changer, even in 2026, when they throw the ball more than they used to. All right, so we was gonna cover one more thing before we went into the commentaries. The hip hop. All right. So, I've been listening to music for a long time. I love music, all music. I mean, all music. I don't care if it's death metal, but it also has to have an attractive melody and preferably something poetic to it, some words that would move you. But, there's been a big evolution with hip hop. People don't understand. Let me tell you something. I see people talk in other countries. I see people dress, people from, whatever, like from a richer place. So let's say Mar-a-Lago, I see hip hop influence everywhere. It's gotten to the point where Ebonics, and I'm talking about street origin Ebonics, are everywhere. Everywhere. I see it everywhere. I see it in Disney shows where it's supposed to be the most wholesome show in the world, and they still say, Ebonics that derive from the streets, But my point also is, with me and the hip hop, I do hip hop because I love it. That's it. I just want people to understand one thing. I don't want, and it doesn't matter too, because I'm gonna tell you something at the end of it all. Sometimes, if you're not thinking, you might care what somebody thinks. But if you told me, are you supposed to care what people think, or are you not supposed to care what people think? My answer would definitely be you're not supposed to care what people think. It messes you up. It keeps you from doing stuff that you would normally have the courage to do, but you get in your own head and start to think, what if people don't think it's good? You just mess yourself up. Don't go and try to create some amazing art and be scared that people won't like it. Don't do that to yourself, But as far as you guys watching me do music and thinking that I'm some sort of struggling rapper who wrote his first rhyme at 15 and now I'm 49, and I'm thinking I'm gonna blow it up like Bad Bunny, that's not the case. Big shout out to Bad Bunny too. You know what I'm saying? I'm Puerto Rican. He's representing right now. There's people out there that say stuff about him or whatever. They say he does things that are feminine and this and that. Listen, man. Right now in 2026, and it should have been at all times, but right now, how I feel, as long as you're not hurting any children, as long as you're not victimizing any person, as long as you care about others and you would be willing to help somebody in need, I don't give a shit about all that. I don't care about all that. My question to Bad Bunny is not his sexual preference. My question is, would you help? And what he's doing in Puerto Rico already speaks towards that. Now, a lot of people will be like, yeah, he got to do that though, because if he doesn't help people, then he's gonna look bad. All right, granted, you're right. For his image, most people are gonna give to charities, get some sort of tax credit back or whatever. But whatever they do it, it's actually like an investment. But it doesn't look like Bad Bunny's doing it as some sort of investment. He looks like he's investing, but not in himself, in the Puerto Rican people. And what he said yesterday in the Super Bowl message, which a certain person seems to have missed, all he can get caught up in is that it wasn't in English. You didn't notice him talking about unity, though? Like, that's the kind of person the person I'm talking about is. And you guys know who I'm talking about. He wants to bash Bad Bunny because he did salsa. That's a bad thing, because he chose to. There's other languages besides English, and even though we're in America, it's okay that a Spanish act performed at the Super Bowl. You act like Ruben Blades or any other famous Latin act. You know what I'm saying? Enrique Iglesias was there. It's okay that they spoke in Spanish. His music is beautiful, but it seems like it went over his head that there was all the countries. This is a globe. We don't live on a country. We live on a globe. It's global. It's Earth. For people to think only your country matters, that's some bullshit right there. It shouldn't be where only your own country matters, because that means for that person, eventually it'll be only my town matters. Then it'll be only his block matters. Then it'll be only his family matters. Then it'll be only his wife and kid matters. Eventually, that kind of person, only he matters. Big shout out to Bad Bunny. He got busy yesterday. So but as far as me, like, trying to make it with rap, I'm not saying that nobody won't come out of nowhere and offer me some opportunity. Yeah, I believe that can happen. Sure, why not? It's already happened. And while I was older and wouldn't have been expected to be put in front of about 1,500 people, when you see me with the microphone inside what looks to be an octagon, because it is an octagon, it was at a UFC fight. That's one of my biggest performances, if not my only performance. I've never been where I got paid to do a concert. I'm not ashamed to say it. But my friend came out of nowhere and said, yo, I'm trying to, do this UFC thing. But not UFC, what do they call it? Mixed martial arts. And he had his own league, and he was like, I want you to rap. And we never discussed payment, but I said, I've never been in front of that many people. And I said, I'll do it, and don't worry about it. We good. And some people would have been bitter about that. That's my man. That's my son. He trusted me with that. Big shout out to Frank Jeremita. I think that's how you pronounce his last name. Big shout out to the homie. I'm not only am I not mad, I got extra love for my man, because like I said, he trusted me with that. That was his baby. And there was a part that needed a rapper. And he said, I know a rapper. I know a real rapper. You get me? I was flattered. Big shout out to Frank. But and that day was crazy too. Like, you never, it was my first performance, like, in front of that many people. When you perform in front of 1,000, let's say it was 1,200 people, the nerves build up, especially if you haven't done it often. You get what I'm saying? So now this rhyme that I know like the back of my hand becomes a rhyme I don't know. So I'm like, I got the headphones on. Before I went into that octagon, I listened to my own song about 500 times. And they were going to have music playing behind me in case I messed up, but I wasn't trying to mess up. And I went in there and I did a clean cut. I was a little bit not as energetic as I should have been, but you got to remember, this is my first performance, my first real performance. You get what I'm saying? So, but I just wanted to address the hip hop. When I do the hip hop, it's because I love it. It has nothing to do with me thinking, I'm about to explode or nah. I play basketball real good, and when I say real good, I mean real good, not no average Joe. I'm not saying that I could be the NBA player. I'm not saying I could even be the Division 1 basketball player. I'm not even saying I could be a female college basketball player. You know, the women are getting crazy with this. They're nasty. Like they're amazing. The female basketball players are really impressive. Some people are gonna be like, what do you mean? It's like, yo, dogs, I'm not saying that they could compete with LeBron in his prime. I know that. Like, that's what you think I'm saying. Like I told you, there's people that are gonna always jump on the negative. I seen so many girls do step back jumpers, the Allen Iverson stutter crossover, the stutter step crossover that he made famous. He tells the story about how the guy taught him how to do it, and that when he seen the crossover, he fell in love with it. And for all you people hating, it's not a carry. If you do it correctly, it's not a carry. It's one of the most elusive. It's also not only one of the most elusive, it's one of the most risky moves in basketball. That kind of crossover is easy to lose. And I like, I could do it. I do it well, But what I'm saying is I was smart enough to understand when I played ball that as good as I was, there's levels to this. When a person says there's levels to this, they're not lying. And I'm not a person who lives in fantasy land. I'm actually a very realistic person. So I just want y'all people to know. I want y'all people to love the music, of course. But don't think that I'm some. Listen, man, I'm good financially. So don't think that he's the guy that's not working in order to do rap. No, that's not me. Don't think that I'm the guy that's not making money because I'm trying to become a basketball player, an NBA basketball player at 49. You know, for you to make that assumption makes you the dummy. You get what I'm saying? So, but I do music because I love it. I got a lot of music now. It's building up. I've learned a little trick that's gonna allow me to put more music out. I got this thing laying here for people, man. Don't buy equipment unless you're gonna use it. You get me? And I'm gonna put this to use, even though I should have been put it to use. But I found a trick where I can give you guys music. That was the whole thing. Music was costing money. You see all the videos that I did Lisa Lopez, I'm Revolutionary, Energy, I Am What I Talk. The list goes on. There's like about 30 videos, 25 videos. But now that I found out that I can engineer out my house, I'm gonna come with a lot more music. I just gotta, take the time out and say you gotta write. Once I get the rhymes, it's easy now. I'm gonna need beats, but I could make my own music if I start messing with my MPK 25 MIDI controller, and through Serato, through other softwares, you can start to create. But for now, as long as I get a rhyme, if I'm really thirsty to just present y'all with something, I could use an industry instrumental, and I won't receive monetization for it when it hits that point. But I'm okay with that for now. I'm just trying to showcase what I do, for the love of it. When I just did something called the Spanish Democrat, it's like a play on Black Republicans. And you know, I love it. I love the way it came out. And I want you guys to listen to the words. I feel like there's a lot of MCs out there, but there ain't too many people saying the stuff I'm saying. I talk a lot about love and unity, and I still keep it thorough on some, because people always talk about nonviolence. And listen, it gets to a point sometimes where you have to fight. And being courageous and brave should be saluted, not condemned. So if there's anybody out there that is a bully, that's no good. But for any man out there that has the courage to fight against somebody they think they would lose against for the right reason, that's a salute. You know, we're gonna get into the commentaries now. You know, check out the music. Trust me, not because I think I'm gonna be bigger than Bad Bunny soon, but check out the music because it's dope. And I think you guys, not only that, boom bap is coming back. I think, I'm not betting on it or whatever, but I think it's already back a little bit. Like people are kind of starving for bars and good melodies, good music, good beats. Some people are tired of, some of the stuff isn't too deep. One thing people like with their music is depth. So the more deep, the more sometimes an elusive lyric is a great lyric. People want to be able to stop for a second and be like, did I get that right? What he said. You know what I'm saying? Anyway, and plus you hear the boom bap drums in every music. That's another thing. I don't understand how you could call our drums played out when they are used in alternative rock. I mean everything. Name any music, rhythm and blues. I mean they kind of came together, R&B and hip hop, but I'm just saying like any music, you name any music, pop music, all of them. Bruno Mars to Taylor Swift, you hear the boom bap drums. Beyonce, all of them. Of course they've, evolved to other drums, but even to this day, you know. All right, so we're gonna get into the commentary section. I got two short commentaries for you guys. All right. What's up? I just noticed the comments. you know, that's what's up. Big shout out to Jessica. Much love. She's a big supporter. You know, big shout out to Jessica, man. Me, my wife, my family, we got much love for you and your family, man. For real. Let me highlight one of her comments real quick. Oh, she was listening when I was talking. She also has a child with autism. I'm going to highlight one of her comments. I'm going to show this one because this is coming from an autistic parent. First of all, let's highlight the ice out comment real quick. I left my other my bro's comment. I left it highlighted. It's all good though. And let me highlight her other comment. This is from an autistic parent. So before you start, being so critical about the comment, understand this is a woman that's dealt with autism her whole life. She writes, I feel your tears. It's heavy to have a little man with autism. Something that kills me is thinking about him in high school now. He'll not experience homecoming or prom. He doesn't have friends. I won't be alive forever. I worry about his future, especially in this messed up world. Praying for you, Lisa. You and Lisa always. Jaden too. That's so gangster. Listen, man. Some people would lock in on the fact that she talked about sad things. Like, so what? This is a lady with an autistic child. That's what you're gonna lock in on, that she talked about something sad. But anyway, the love is there for you, Jessica. You already know what it is. You know what I'm saying? I appreciate what you said. That's much love right there. I listen, along with things that happen that also would make you sad, there's things that come along with my son that also, it's crazy, but there's things he won't endure that people that don't have autism are going to have to go through. And it's painful and it's hard. And he gets a pass on that because he's autistic. So I try to find a bright side to anything. you know, especially when you're dealing with something like that. You know, thanks for the shout out, Jessica. Much love to you and yours. All right, so look, we're gonna get into something different real quick. Let me share this screen real quick. All right, this is not a long video. Big shout out to Dr. Rashad Ritchie. And let me hook it up so it's the best. I think it's best this way. Yeah, it's best that way. All right. So let me full screen it also. I want to know what you guys think about this video. Drop a comment when you see it. You know, I'm not gonna even set up the video for you. When you see, you'll understand. I'll set it up for you. They're in the store. All right.
Don't touch me. No, it's not yours. Hey, That's not yours, see? I can't believe you. You hit me? Why are you hitting me? Because you hit me first. You hit me first. And we got cameras here.
Now, y'all guys just seen what happened. I want you guys to let me know if you feel the man should have not defended himself, or if you're looking at it in the sense where that is not even self-defense. Do you think he should have hit the lady back? Now, she hit him first. We seen it. And he hit her back. It comes to the point where the whole women's lib equality thing, I do believe in equality, but I don't think you know, there's double standards. I don't know if this falls into that whole thing, but I do believe in you keeping your hands to yourself. You know, as far as whether he should have been, man, listen, it's hard to get struck and not. I've seen guys do it though, you know, and salute to them. But I don't want to condemn this man because he got slapped. She slapped his glasses off, you know, and it's just violation. And I'm not going to condemn him for hitting her. You know, I'm not going to say it was the right move. You know, I'm going to let y'all decide. You know, I want to, you know, I don't ask for comments like that when I do my thing, but I'm going to really ask for some comments right now. Tell me exactly what you think about what happened and how it could have went down differently. You know, if he should have said you shouldn't have put your hands on me and taught her a lesson, or if he should have, you know, ate the shot and not hit her. You know, we're gonna keep playing it.
Why is it? Why is he leaving?
He's still hitting me.
Why are you hitting me, bitch? Bitch,
You see, she's making it look worse too, because like, let's say it would have ended after the first two strikes. I mean, she still would have looked bad because she hit first, but she's just like looking for a win. She's not even acknowledging to what degree it escalated to and what kind of problems this could bring. This can end bad in so many ways. Family members could get involved on both sides. Like, you know, it's just not worth it. You know what I'm saying? Whatever it was about, it ain't worth it. And she took it there. You know, and like I said, I've seen men take a shot and not hit the lady back on the strength of that she is the opposite gender, you know, and that's literally the only reason that kept the person from hitting back, is because they don't want to hit somebody who is not as strong by nature, you know. So I'm gonna let it play.
Well, luckily we have the video. Put it up full mass. So a Karen slaps an older black male and did not expect this individual to defend himself. Now, we don't condone violence at Indisputable. We only condone and expect people to defend themselves.
I knew he was going to talk about self-defense, and like he said, they don't condone violence. And then he says, we do condone self-defense. If you want to be realistic about it, it's self-defense. Technically it's self-defense. Now, was his life in danger? I don't think so. But like, what are you gonna do? Wait for her to pull out a knife and plunge it into you to realize that it warranted defending yourself to that degree? Like I said, I don't know if it was the right call. I'll let y'all decide, or I'll see what y'all put. But I'm gonna say that she put everything into motion, and that man, I don't know what happened, but he kept his hands to himself until she struck him.
Recently posted on Instagram by the account Dallas Headline, the video's caption said it sparked debate online about self-defense and gender dynamics, but many commenters disagreed. That caption is wrong. The video shows a man defending himself after being assaulted.
That's another thing. The caption at the beginning said, woman initiates, says something. It doesn't mention her striking. And then man assaults her. And meanwhile, you should have said that the lady is hit first and then whatever happened after. Forget what the caption read exactly. I'm not going to rewind, but because you could rewind it yourself. At the beginning, the caption was not cool. They should have wrote the truth.
By a woman, she then tries to play victim, according to the narrative, despite the camera suggesting otherwise. Read a top comment. Comment with more than 3,000 likes as, quote, as the man tries to get away from her.
Yeah.
And asks for 911 to be contacted.
She's still assaulting.
She follows and continues to assault while spewing racist remarks, end quote. Another wrote, quote, I'm glad this was on camera, so she can't claim he started it. It's unclear if there was a verbal argument before the scuffle or what exactly incensed the woman and prompted her to approach him so aggressively in the first place. At least in this case, social media sided with the man thanks to the video evidence. And at least one commenter offered the woman sage life advice. Don't put your hands on people. That's what the commenter said.
All right, so we're gonna leave it there.
Hopefully
quick.
There's a
I'm gonna get to the next segment. Leave a comment about that. I would really appreciate it. And we're gonna head to the other topic. All right. So I picked this one because it blows up people in power who are doing things that are not right. These people, some people in power, they are not doing the right thing. And I'm gonna launch the video and we'll speak as the video progresses.
All right, we have some wild breaking news that only confirms our deepest, darkest suspicions. I urge everybody watching this video and beyond to never ever do one thing in regards to the execution of Alex Pretti and Renee Nicole Good. Never ever forget. Never forget what this administration has done over the past year, but especially their actions in the hours following Renee Nicole Good's execution. We never should forget about that.
Big shout out to Adam Mockler. We're back at it. The murder of Alex Pretti, the nurse, the male nurse that was executed. Renee Nicole Good, the lady who was executed also. Listen, he was not in front of the car. You understand? As he let them rounds out of his gun, he was on the side of the car. And yet he still hit her. He hit her above the neck. So her family most likely couldn't have an open casket. I'm not saying that's why he did it. I'm saying the result of him doing that No open casket for the parents. And for anybody that says that the parents didn't deserve to have an open casket over what she did, you're a fool. I try to be careful on my channel not to get too upset, too frustrated, and say things that can keep me out the algorithm. Without YouTube, my voice will not be heard. And like I said, sometimes you're like, why Spank ain't being himself? I gotta be a person who's being ambitious and trying to get people to hear him more. So I gotta do what I gotta do. This is my job. You don't bring certain things to work. And I'm tired of also, I'm a grown man. There's things I gotta do as a grown man. Like I said, you can't care what people think, you know. So, but I don't want to get mad and start cursing people or whatever, cursing ICE or whatever. At the end of it all, the facts are that the nurse Alex Pretti got shot in the back, and the lady who they act put the guy's life in danger. She did not. She took off. He was a little close. It was nothing where she could have hurt him like that. But they want to exaggerate everything so they can rationalize why they became murderous and victimize the person to that degree, to the point where her parents might not be able to have an open casket over what he did. And these people are, like some of the people working that job, they're horrible people. I mean, horrible to the core, like real, like you wouldn't want to need help, and they be around, they'll leave you. They don't care about anybody but themselves. People who do the things that they are doing, they do not care, and nothing's gonna change with them until they're in the same spot of the people that they victimized. Because it happens all the time. You see it with judges when they get pulled over. You see it with lawyers when they get pulled over, and I mean prosecutors, not defense attorneys. Law enforcement, they get pulled over, they're drunk, and all of a sudden they want to start making excuses, trying to use their power to get out of the situation. What happened? I thought you condemned all criminal activity. You're a criminal right now, and now you want to get out of the, mess you put yourself in. So I'm gonna let Mockler keep talking. He's right about never forget. Don't forget what they did. I definitely agree with the people that say I should be dissolved.
That because if that were any of us, if that were you or me or your parents or my cousins, they would have done the same thing, gone on the news and then justified our executions by finding some crazy things that we did years ago. Like they'd be like, Adam used to get stoned in high school, therefore he was a domestic terrorist thug who shouldn't have been on the streets recording our ICE agents. They would find something that you posted online in 2013 and use that as a justification for our executions. This administration is disgusting, and one more time I urge you to never forget what they did. Never forget the story that just broke coming out of the New York Times that prosecutors actually began investigating Renee Good's killing, but Washington told them to stop. I'm going to list a few key names that need to be extra held accountable once this is all over. Of course, the Donald.
Who are these people that they deserve to get away with? I can't even say certain words. I got to go to unalived. Who are these people? What's so special about them that they deserve to get away with unaliving somebody? Nobody deserves to get away with it. Listen, if you're a good person and you do what they did, you don't deserve to get away with it. I don't care how good you are. You gotta answer for your mistakes. Listen, man, they got people out there selling alcohol, right? And I've seen alcohol. Alcohol took my little brother's life. And I'm not going to act like he didn't take his own life by putting it inside him, by ingesting it. But what I'm saying is alcohol is a vicious, vicious drug in the wrong person's hands. So why would I condemn other people that sell something that's pretty much the same thing except in a different form? If you hate a person who sells narcotics, then you would probably be somebody that would hate a person who sells a bottle of booze, you know. But if you're a person who doesn't, you know, and I don't mean hate the person, hate that he does that. But what I'm saying is, if you're a person that condemns the sale of narcotics, you need to condemn the sale of booze. To be honest with you, I've seen liquor annihilate a person in speed that you wouldn't believe. 30 years old, 25 years old, 35 years old. That's so young, you know. But the whole point is that nobody's special, man. When you violate, there's consequences. Now, but these people aren't doing something like, we just seen a woman punch a guy and people are debating whether he should have hit her back because she was a lady. These people didn't punch anybody. They unalived somebody. And it's to the point where, because they're part of the Trump administration and they're part of this whole ICE, get rid of anybody who isn't a citizen, you know, bullcrap that they're on, they're literally going to try to let these guys get away with murder. I said it, my bad. I don't even care, to be honest with you. You know, once I'm not gonna go back and say, you know, unalived or nothing like that. Like I said it. I don't give a shit what it does to the effect it has. You get me? It's too late, and I'm not regretting nothing right now. So we're gonna keep listening to Adam Mockler finish the commentary that he's doing right now, and he's right about not forgetting, and he's telling you that they're about to let these guys walk, you know, get away with unaliving somebody. And he's gonna name people, because I seen a glimpse of like what I'm watching with you guys, and he shouts out Christy Nome, he shouts out Cash Patel, and Stephen Miller. Oh man, like, you know, like I said, because I don't want my voice to be extinguished, I'm gonna reserve how I feel about Stephen Miller somewhat. But Stephen Miller is, in my opinion, no good. No good. In my opinion, he's rotten to the core. He's somebody I would never trust. It's a horrible human being. And that's how I feel. That's my right, you know. So we're going to let it keep playing. I'm not going to spend that much time telling you guys how much I loathe Stephen Miller and how it's warranted and how he's a horrible person.
Trump if at all, of course. But Stephen Miller's rhetoric, language, and actions surrounding this means he needs to be held extra accountable. He needs to be drugged in front of a court. Christy Nome's actions are inexcusable. One more name that is now added to the list is Cash Patel. Now, of course, there's other people we could talk about, Greg Bovino, but Cash Patel.
Bovino's no good neither. He's another one. These games are so funny.
Right after Renee Nicole Good was executed, signed a letter asking investigators to stop investigating it. They had a warrant to go collect evidence on the crime scene, the scene of the crime, try to get, you know, the bullet casings, the glass that was in the window. The administration told them not to even check it out.
It's bad enough that Trump has gotten away with being charged with 55 felonies and just excusing himself. Those are charges that would have buried somebody underneath the prison. He just exonerated himself like nothing. This is the power that this guy has. But I'm gonna tell you something. They're letting him get away with stuff that, you know, in my opinion, I believe that there's already cause for impeachment. You get me? But these people are scared. This is what happens when you let. This is why I tell you, you know, people talk about violence, this, and condemning it all the way. No, man, listen, fighting back sometimes is necessary. You can't just condone everything because you don't want to, you know, get your hands dirty. Sometimes, listen, man, you got to stand up sometimes, and not for the wrong reason, for the right reason, you know. And when you see tyranny, when you see a dictator, when you see a person committing crimes and just exonerating himself, When you see him letting people out of jail that raided the Capitol, when you see all this stuff, you should be on high alert. I can't believe that and people compare it to a cult. How do I feel about that? I believe that they're onto something. I've been building up my library of videos. In one of my earlier videos, they asked a lady, what would you do if Trump didn't get elected? And she said she would off herself. Now, if she was joking somewhat, maybe not. I don't know. But this is crazy. It's to the point where it's obvious that it's wrong, and yet people are still trying to rationalize why it's right. And it's for a person they never met. How do you fall in love with a person? I'm LeBron. I'm not even a fan. LeBron's my favorite player. Would he get any special treatment from me regarding this stuff, like to this degree? Nah. You know what I'm saying? Like, you can't be so in awe of a person because they're a celebrity or they're famous that you would let them get away with crimes against humanity. You know. Anyway.
This is a cover-up that happens in authoritarian countries. This is what happens when a state killing happens in Russia or North Korea and they don't want there to be any evidence whatsoever. This reads, federal prosecutors had a warrant to collect evidence from Miss Good's vehicle, but the Trump administration leaders said to drop it. About a dozen prosecutors have departed, leaving the Minnesota U.S. Attorney's Office in turmoil. And, once this story came out, a lot of things clicked for me. A lot of stories over the past few weeks clicked. I mean, I could have reasonably assumed why this happened. But remember about a month ago on January 13th, when we learned that a mass exodus had hit the DOJ's Civil Rights Division. So the division that is supposed to investigate the violation of civil rights had all of their top people resign. Now, people knew that this was because of the cover-up of Renee Nicole Good, but we didn't actually know what was going down behind the scenes. Now we do. They were spiking the investigation, as we'll get to in just one moment. So a few weeks ago, several career prosecutors in the Justice Department's Civil Rights Division announced they are leaving shortly after they learned there would be no civil rights probe into the fatal shooting of a Minneapolis woman. But it's even worse than that. We find out
you got people resigning because they're so disgusted by this taking place that they're like, I quit. And that's got to be something very serious. People don't just quit their state or government job for minor things.
Now that they are leaving because there was a probe, there was a federal investigation that was spiked by this administration. Really quickly, make sure you drop a like on this video if you want to boost our pro-democracy message. Make sure you are subscribed to the Adam Mockler feed. We are going to continue to punch back against MAGA media, and we are going to win when the midterms come.
Well, matter of
As
fact,
a quick aside,
you already know what it is, man. Big shout out to Adam Mockler, the young gun. You know what I'm saying? That's I call him the young gun every now and then, but I call him his name too. You should always call a person by their legitimate name. You shouldn't play like that all the time. But he's the young gun to me. I couldn't believe when I first saw my man that he was talking more sense than so many adults, so many people that have been on this planet are supposed to be veterans, are supposed to be experienced, and this kid is annihilating them with common sense and logic. So yeah, big shout out to the young gun, Adam Mockler. This is me, because I remembered I didn't hit the like button. I gotta smash the like. I didn't do it with the Rashad Ritchie video, but I'm gonna take care of that in a second. And yeah, big shout out to all these people speaking up and you got to understand, people are risking their own, safety to a certain degree. Even myself, you never know if because I'm speaking out against certain things, if somebody would target you. But I don't care. Really, to be honest with you, I've been through beef before in my life, real serious problems. So, like, certain people will get shook up a lot easier than me. I'm out here. I'm gonna talk my shit. I'm gonna say what I gotta say about what's going on. But like I said, too, I'll also try to say it. I'll try to articulate it so I won't anger YouTube.
You know what was wild to me? This morning, I was trying to figure out if I wanted to make a video on the Epstein cover-up, which we did earlier, or Donald Trump's health cover-up, or the economic cover-up. But then 2 new cover-up stories dropped. How many things is this administration going to cover up? So while I was about to make a video about Renee Nicole Good's murder being covered up, after I made a video about the Epstein cover-up and other cover-ups, I realized there are too many to keep track of, because we just learned a few hours ago that the NSA detected a phone call between a foreign intelligence agency and somebody close to Trump. Now get this, a whistleblower says that Tulsi Gabbard, Donald Trump's DNI, who is very likely on the Russian payroll, blocked the agency from sharing a report and delivered it straight to Susie Wiles. Just think about this. Somebody in Trump's immediate circle was caught giving information to foreign intelligence agencies. When that made it to our Director of National Intelligence, which is generally supposed to be a check on our administration to make sure they're not foreign influence.
Supposed to be a filter, but it didn't get filtered because, like I said, they're all scared.
The Director of National Intelligence squashed the investigation,
or they're on the dark side,
and just sent the complaint directly to Donald Trump's chief of staff. The reason I bring this up is because it is almost a perfect parallel, close at least, to what's going on with Renee Nicole Good. Investigators squash what is happening and only report to the administration.
See?
The thing that we need to understand is this is backfiring big time. Mayor Jacob Fry posted earlier, thousands showed up to remember and honor Renee Good and Alex Pretti. Minneapolis.
Rest in peace, Renee Nicole Good and Alex Pretti.
Is with you, and we will keep spreading love.
They did not deserve to be unalived. It wasn't justified. There is no way to rationalize it. It shouldn't have took place, and the people who made it happen should be prosecuted.
Let's read this article and talk about Kash Patel's involvement, because they all need to go. Hours after an immigration agent fatally shot Renee Good inside her SUV on a Minneapolis street last month, a senior federal prosecutor in Minnesota sought a warrant to search the vehicle for evidence in what he expected would be a standard civil rights investigation into the agent's use of force. So far, that all makes sense. You know, a senior federal prosecutor issues a warrant. They're going to investigate if it was a civil rights breach. Of course, the prosecutor, Joseph S.H. Thompson, wrote in an email to colleagues that the Minnesota Bureau of Criminal Apprehension, a state agency that specializes in investigating police shootings, would team up with the FBI to determine whether the shooting had been justified and lawful or had violated the civil rights of Renee Nicole Good. But later that week, as FBI agents equipped with a signed warrant prepared to document blood spatter and bullet holes, they received orders to stop, to stand down, according to several people with knowledge of the events. The orders, they said, came from senior
people. This is sad. Like, do you hear this? Like, this is what I mean. Like, if it's registering, how do some people still, like, they just, like, ignore what they've heard and they still stay on the same, aligned with the same beliefs that they had before, even though they were just, those beliefs were obliterated. You're hearing, listen to what's being told to you.
Officials, including Kash Patel, the FBI director, several of whom worried that pursuing a civil rights investigation by using a warrant obtained on that basis would contradict President Trump's claim that Miss Good, quote, willfully, violently, and viciously ran over the ICE officer who fired at her as she drove her vehicle. Again, this is straight from any authoritarian regime. The state kills a U.S. citizen for no good reason, and rather than investigating it, they decide to cover it up because they are scared of accountability.
They do this so often. That's what I was trying to say. It's a situation where a law enforcement person, mainly at this point ICE, it's ICE to the 100th power, a person can come close to running their foot over and they'll blast the car to smithereens with bullets and they'll say, she almost unalived me. They'll stretch the truth, and I mean stretch is a stretch. You get what I'm saying? Like stretching the truth is like, that's not even the right phrase. It's so blatantly, disgustingly obvious that the lady didn't come anywhere near to unaliving you. She didn't even, she came close maybe to running your toe over. Maybe, if you even want to go there. Let me tell you something. When they examined that cop, he didn't have a scratch on him. So you're not even talking about running over your foot. Some people would debate that she didn't even come close to running his foot over, his toe. And you're gonna say that that's a good reason to Swiss cheese the car? And then there's people that go, yeah, she almost unalived them. Like, are you really believing your own lies? Do you really make up lies to rationalize your fake truth? Are you that person? You need to cut it out. It's gonna backfire on you one day too. You can't keep doing messed up stuff and not end up in a world of misery eventually.
The most jarring part, I mean, there's many jarring parts, but one of the most jarring parts is that same ICE agent was back on the street the next day. The same ICE agents who killed Alex Pretti were back on the street the next day. That doesn't even happen with police officers who shoot someone in self-defense. Even if a police officer justifiably kills somebody in self-defense, they're not able to just walk out on the job the next day. There are certain therapeutic requirements after you kill somebody on the job. So the fact that Alex Pretti and Renee Nicole Good's assassins could have been like walking past my parents the next day, wherever these ICE agents ended up being, is terrifying and should not make any American feel safe. Over the next few days, top DOJ officials presented alternative approaches. First, they suggested prosecutors ask a judge to sign a new search warrant. Then, they said that there are other ways we must be able to investigate. Several of the career federal prosecutors in Minnesota, including Mr. Thompson, balked at the new approach, which they viewed as legally dubious and incendiary. They basically just wanted ICE to investigate themselves.
All right, I'm going to stop it here. Big shout out to Adam Mockler. Listen, people, what's going on is they're just doing horrible things and trying to figure out a way to stretch. Some people would even debate whether it's a truth or not, but take some sort of truth and stretch it to the point where now they have an excuse to do something as extreme as what they did in regards of unaliving Renee Nicole Good and Alex Pretti. All right, so I'm gonna leave it there. I had promised you guys a little bit of a trading card showing. So what I'm gonna do is, because the Super Bowl, like I told you guys, I'm not waiting around to become a hip-hop star. So I do good with my collectibles. You see in the background my Daredevil. You see, they're posters though, You see the Avengers, you see the Daredevil. Well, like I said, I do good with my collectibles. So when the Super Bowl came, right? Yeah, that's my main thing, my collectibles. So when the Super Bowl came, like, it's my job to track who's about to become legendary, who's about to become a Hall of Famer, if the price is right, because if you entered the game late, it's not like you could just, come into the collectible card game and buy the Mickey Mantle's First Tops card or the Honus Wagner for $1. It's not how it works. But when I realized that Sam Darnold and Drake Maye had made it to the Super Bowl, I looked at their stats for the season, and Drake Maye was the one with those crazy stats. But Sam Darnold is also a great quarterback. And I realized that he had a shot at winning the Super Bowl just like Drake Maye. A matter of fact, Sam Darnold and the Seahawks were the Super Bowl favorites. So I actually said, I like Drake Maye though. So I started buying some Drake Maye rookies at really good prices. And then I said, you know what? He could lose though. And then you're going to wish you had bought Sam Darnold. So I bought Sam Darnold too. He's on the way, because the whole theory of it is, when you buy packs, you're lucky if you pull out a good player. But then that good player has to make it to the Super Bowl, because you could be as good as you want. If you don't never get a ring, that kind of disqualifies you from a lot of things regarding being a Hall of Famer, your card going up in price and stuff like that. So I don't like to buy boxes at all. I buy them once in a while when I want to have fun because I love boxes. It's the gambling part of the boxes that makes it so amazingly fun. Ripping open that pack and seeing if you're getting the 101 LeBron autograph. You get me? But just like scratchies, packs, it's not easy to get good pulls. So I don't wait for the pack to yield something good. I go out there and I target cards. So some of the cards arrived, and I said that I was gonna show you guys, what came out of the packages. Well, you're gonna see quite a few Drake Mays. This is how we're gonna end the show. You know what I'm saying? And you're gonna see some of the Drake Mays I bought because of the Super Bowl yesterday. And for all you guys that see me do my hip hop, you see me do my channel. I love my channel. I love basketball. I love gaming, and I love hip hop, and I love my channel. But I have a real job, and I make a real salary. So you guys don't get the impression that I'm staying home every day trying to make boom bap hip hop and thinking I'm gonna get $1 million salary out of it. No, that is not what's going on. And even with the channel is not to a point where I make an income that can support me. So until I know that I can stop doing my thing with collectibles because the channel grew to that point, I'm doing great with my current job. All right. Just so you guys know. And like I said, I don't really care what people think, but it's good that people know what's the truth. I like to be a real person. My father was an honorable person. Big shout out to Ralph Avenue and Bedford Stuyvesant. Big shout out to all the homies from Ralph Avenue, everybody from the block. I left when I was 8. I used to go back and forth. So, but big shout out to everybody out there. Some of the dudes don't even want me shouting them out because they just, they don't like to put themselves on blast like that. But to all the homies from Ralph between Putnam and Jefferson that used to be in my pop's arcade, in my pop's barbershop, in my pop's pool room, big shout out. I love you guys. You know what I'm saying? Everybody that was up on that wall. My father had a wall of the whole Ralph Avenue, all the way probably to Marcus Garvey, all the way down to Bushwick Avenue, all the way to DeKalb, all the way down to Halsey. You know what I'm saying? So, but yeah, this was one of the first. This is one of the I could realize because I didn't buy any more paper Drake Mays after this, but this was one of the first purchases I made when I realized that Drake May was in the Super Bowl. That is what you call a lot because it's not a little. Nah, when you buy a single card, they're called singles. You know what I mean? And then when you buy even more than one card, they call it a lot. But a real collector usually looks at a lot like a nice little bunch of cards. Well, this is a 5-card lot, and this kid is gonna go places. You gotta understand, even though Drake May didn't win the Super Bowl, this is only his second year in the NFL, and he already threw 40 touchdowns and made it to the Super Bowl. So I think it's a smart move. Not only that, he was runner-up behind what's that? Matthew Stafford. Matthew Stafford won MVP, and he was the second place guy. So I went out there and I bought a bunch of Drake Mays because I knew it was smart, and I knew what I paid for them. I would be able to get more later on. This is how you do it. That's just one package so far. I'm more into chromium cards. Paper cards, I'm not really, I mess with them too because, you say paper, but they have a glossy layer over them. They're not, they're not like the old cardboard cards like Topps, like, Tony Gwynn, Kirby Puckett, Mike Schmidt, George Brett. Like those cards were truly paper with hardly any reinforcement, like, because they layer it with the glossy layer now. But these are all what you would call non-chromium cards. But those are 5 Drake Mays right there. We're going to just open a couple real quick, and then I'm going to end the show. Let's see what comes out of this package. Like I told you, I like chromium cards. Most likely this is a chromium Drake May. Yeah, you see, I'm going to give you a good look, too, at the Drake May that came out the package. This is the Drake May that I just pulled out the package. What I'm going to do is I'm going to give you a good look at, it's a select. It's called Select by Numbers. And it's a Drake May rookie. It's from 2024. Like I told you, he's only been in the NFL 2 years. This was literally his second season. This was his sophomore season. He was a rookie last season. So if he would have made the Super Bowl last year, it would have been one of the few times that a rookie led a team to the Super Bowl. So, but look, I'm going to take the card all the way out. See, right now I just took it out its first plastic. But they protect the cards. Smoke can mess your cards up, especially the paper ones. That's why I like the chromium ones. In a smoke-filled environment, if you have paper cards in that environment long enough, they can start to yellow. So, but look, let me get this out. All right. See, that's the card. This is why I love the chromium cards better. Let me show you a paper card next to it. The paper cards are cool, though. I do like them still, of course. And they're the originals. But look at this card, right? And then look at this one. And they come with glows on them. They're called refractors, prisms. There's, a couple of names for them. Holos. So, but look, I'm going to pull it out. Look at how nice this card is. Before, he could have won it. Like I said, neither quarterbacks had the greatest performance. And he outperformed Sam Darnold. You see the rookie stamp right there. You can see it right there, the rookie stamp. So I'm going to put it back in. I'm going to open a couple more packages, maybe 1 or 2, maybe 3 or 4 more. And then we're going to wrap it up. There's one package that I felt like it had a lot of cards in it. Plus, I got to make sure to put them back in the right packages because I got to leave feedback. You don't want to, when you buy cards like this, if you don't have a checklist, you won't know if you got the card sent to you or not. Sometimes they don't send the card, and the only way you know is through your feedback. Let me find that package. Here we go. There's a lot of cards. We're going to make this one the last package, all right? Because I could tell that there's more than one card in here. It feels like there's quite a few cards in here. This is a good way to close it out. All right, guys. I'm having a feeling that this is definitely Drake May. And I'm having a feeling that there's more than 5 cards in here. Yeah, this is a nice little lot. I'm surprised. This is paper cards and chromium cards because it's my man Merchandise Liquidations. Big shout out to Merchandise Liquidations. If you're a person who buys trading cards on eBay, you know who Merchandise Liquidations is, especially if you've been buying long enough. I talk to him from time to time. I think I've told you guys about him. But this was an all Drake May lot that I bought. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 8 Drake May cards. This is a green score rookie. It's called a portrait. That's why you see his picture like that. This is an introductions. This is an absolute card. The absolutes are chromium. This is another Drake May. This is a paper rookie. It's actually a Donruss rated rookie, which is pretty good though. I'm not gonna lie, I like this one. This is the Drake May Mosaic rookie card. This is a Drake Maye score rookie card, I believe. Yeah. Another same Drake Maye score rookie card. This one is probably the nicest one out of the batch. Even though it's not super expensive, you can see how clean cut it is. You can see the picture on the front. It's nice. You know, it's simple. It's not a super expensive Drake Maye rookie card, but it has potential to go through the roof, depending on how he keeps going. He came this close to winning MVP this year. And oh, I got two of them. Big shout out to Merchandise Liquidations. It's your boy Spank Dog, man. Like, comment, share, subscribe, the whole kit and caboodle. And drop a comment, especially about the Dr. Rashad Richie commentary. It's your boy Spank Dog. Much love, real love. I'm out of here. One.